session. Here are a few housekeeping notes. Each esteemed speaker will be allotted 12 minutes to share their insights, providing us with a comprehensive understanding of potential that holds for sustainability in Pakistan. Additionally, we have reserved dedicated slots for special remarks, technical remarks, and closing remarks, which have allocated 10 minutes. This will allow us to wrap up the session effectively. We also have dedicated 15-minute slots for a question and answer sessions before we conclude this panel. To initiate today's discussion, I'm honored to invite Brigadier Mohammad Yasin, retired Senior Advisor, Emirates SDPI, for his welcoming remarks. Brigadier Mohammad Yasin, retired a chartered engineer and BSc Honors in War Studies, received advanced education training from UK, USA, and Canada. He served on a faculty of Military College of Signals and later worked with the National Institute of Electronics. As a member of the Prime Minister Committee for Research and Analysis, he coordinated several research projects. He is a senior advisor Emirates SDPI, where he also established the Center for Learning and Development. He has written numerous research papers and compiled edited books. He coordinates SDPI study group on ICT. I now invite Brigadier Mohammad Yasin to kindly share his welcome remarks with us. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Respected Chair, worthy panelists, and dear participants. On behalf of Sustainable Development Policy Institute, it's an honor for me to welcome you to discuss an important subject, sustainability in the digital age, the potential of artificial intelligence in Pakistan. Artificial intelligence, or AI, is evolving at an unprecedented speed. It is impacting all sectors and, in fact, all aspects of our lives. It is driving sustainable development by transforming health, industry, manufacturing, education, justice system, agriculture, environment, country's defense, and human resources, etc. Its impact on human resources would be that the above sectors will be able to achieve their goals and mission through reduced human resource. Military establishments will maintain reasonably small but effective defense forces. Another important aspect is the development of automated decision-making processes without human intervention. It looks as if the machines will be made more intelligent than humans. With panaceas, there are also dangers related to privacy, security, election meddling, data breaches, and ethics, so on and so forth. Especially, the job displacement is worrisome for Pakistan, as we are already suffering unemployment, resulting in brain drain. Will AI add to these sufferings? According to the UK Office of National Statistics, around 7% of existing jobs would be displaced over the next 5 years, rising to around 18% after 10 years, and around 18% after 10 years and around 30% after 20 years. Based on total UK employment of around 32.4 million in 2018, this could be equivalent to 2.2 million jobs displaced over the next 5 years, 6 million jobs displaced over the next 10 years, and around 9 million jobs displaced over the next 20 years. So you can just see how worrisome job displacement will be for Pakistan. Another disturbing aspect of ongoing development is the lethal, fully autonomous weapons systems in some countries that will operate without human intervention. When fully autonomous weapons are launched, humans are out of the loop. Let us hope that the efforts being made by the United Nations and other organizations to meet the challenges posed by AI will yield positive outcomes. Some countries have enacted legal framework laying down as to how the positive impacts will be exploited and how the negative impacts will, like job displacements, will be dealt with. So what Pakistan can do to harness the potential of AI to facilitate sustainability? I am sure the learned speakers will be discussing various aspects of this technology with a focus on Pakistan. I propose the following. 1, close collaboration between the universities, industry, and Pakistan military for research and development in this technology. This triangle will enable us to keep pace with the emerging AI technologies and find cutting-edge solutions to our needs. 2, creation of a task force under the cabinet division representing all sectors, which should meet periodically to discuss and evaluate current developments in the rapidly evolving field of AI technology, future developments, and prepare policy and planning recommendations that could be provided to the agencies concerned for implementation. I conclude by emphasizing that the potential of AI is vast, but to harness its potential would require concerted efforts by all stakeholders. We must exploit its huge potential to ensure that the digital age truly benefit Pakistan. Decisions made in the coming years will have long-lasting impact on the country's future. Let me quote Russian President Putin, who said, "Whosoever becomes the leader of artificial intelligence will become the ruler of the world." I thank you.
Thank you so much, Brigadier Yassin, for his insightful welcome remarks. Now I would like to introduce Mr. Parvez Iftikhar, who will be moderating today's session. Mr. Parvez Iftikhar is an independent IC consultant in the telecom policy and regulation space. With over 40 years of experience in Pakistan and abroad, almost all of his consulting work in outside Pakistan, 15 countries so far. He is a founding CEO of USF Pakistan. Before that, he was the country head of Siemens Telecom. A graduate of UET Lahore, he has been on sabbaticals to renowned institutions like Oxford, Harvard, and Carnegie Mellon universities. Mr. Iftikhar, the floor is now yours.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum and good morning. Thank you very much, Sadia. And Brigadier Saab, thank you for your welcome remarks. Let me also welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, at this exciting artificial intelligence session today. I hope all of us will go more enlightened from here, and we'll certainly learn, because we have a fantastic array of panelists who will talk about different aspects of AI. and I'm sure it will be of interest to every one of us. One small note that we have, we wanted to have this question answers after every speaker's speech or talk. But unfortunately, we are constrained of time. We have not been able to start on time. We are already late. So we'll have all the question answers at the end together in one go. So let us, utilize this session to inspire each other, foster innovation, and collectively pave the way for the future. So to start with, I invite Mr. Tahir Masood. Tahir Masood has a more than 23 years of experience in technology world, working with companies like Microsoft and Intel on applications, solutions, services, platform, and cloud, with focus on machine learning, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things. He has been actively involved in startups and innovation ecosystem, both locally and internationally. Mr. Tahir Ahmed Masood, please.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Most of us are under the weather, so that thing is going on. So yeah, so bear with me with my choppy voice. And I'm very proud to be in this esteemed group, and I hope that we are able to learn from each other today. From an artificial intelligence perspective, since our focus is on the core concept, so I will be very, superficial about the core underlying technologies, rather focus on the use cases which we need to focus on. And the reason for it is, being in Pakistan, we are primarily not the creators of the platforms. We are primarily the users or adopters of the technology. Yes, a lot of Pakistanis are part of teams. I have been part of one, as part of Microsoft when those platforms were created. But here, when we are talking about more localized use of technology, we are more of a consumer side. One of the phenomena that we have seen globally and is always going to be there is the regulators and the government sector is always going to fall behind the creators of the technology, because they are creating it at a pace, creating it under the secrecy or under their patents at such a massive pace that regulators do not have time to react proactively to it. And that is why technology comes, it disrupts. When it disrupts, then we see, okay, we need to fix it. And I'll start with examples so we relate to it. And in your questions, if you want me to go to 15,000 feet or higher, I will go to that level. But an example is in generative AI case, when we talk about LLMs, which is large language models, which is the underlying area. So we basically, I will divide AI in two areas. One is a plain vanilla predictive analysis, predictive algorithm part, and the generative AI, which we are experiencing in the domain of ChatGPT, as we say. So ChatGPT was launched, and boom, nobody had an idea whether they were from Cambridge or the local schools that people were doing assignments, right? You just wake up at 6 a.m. My kids were doing it. They wake up at 6 a.m. They wanted to write an essay. Boom, 10 minutes, it's out there. 2 minutes, they require to get the printout, and there they go. So the disruption happened. And how long ChatGPT has been in the market? 7 months, 6, 7 months. Have you seen any regulation coming from schools, whether Cambridge or local or anywhere? What has it done? No, children have become smarter. They are using technology. What is telling us that we are still not able to react. Yes, that is one part of it. But my point is more that we are still not able to figure out what to do. यही है ना? As parents, जो यहाँ बहुत से parents बैठे हुए हैं, maybe as students, you are taking the full benefit out of it, right? As students, do you think it is fair that somebody comes with a ChatGPT while you have worked hard building the content yourself? There you go. So disruption, मैं आपको examples दे रहा हूँ disruption की. So from a regulatory standpoint, from organizational standpoint, AI and technology has been disrupting and will be disrupting. So we need to now come and focus on कि जी हम क्या कर रहे हैं. थोड़ी सी examples आपको देता हूँ कि when I was in New York, वहाँ पे एक session हुआ AI का 2016-17 की बात है. और उन दिनों टेस्ला और ये ऑटो ड्राइविंग कार्स की बात हो रही थी. And I was again shocked by the forthcoming vision of the leaders there, which are sitting on top positions. कि the mayor of New York ने अपने अगले 15 साल के हाईवे एक्सटेंशंस के प्लान को ब्रेक लगा दी. उसने कहा automobiles will act as a service. We might not be needing that much garages in the homes and that much parking space in the homes, which means that we might need less lanes on the road because automotive vehicles will be used as a service. आपने यहाँ से Marriott आना है, आपने गाड़ी हायर की है, जिस तरह आजकल हम कर रहे हैं. Just consider the driver is not there. You don't have to find a parking place. You need to find less parking places. The less construction material is going to be used. The less maintenance is going to be used on the highways. The area the highways acquire are going to be required less, and other elements associated with it. So we have seen some examples. मेरा ये बात करने का मकसद था कि in some cases we are in reactive mode. In some cases, the countries in the world which we call as developed countries have seen the impact of it and they reacted to it in form of policy, in form of at least preparing the policy that they know they need to implement, and they might know or figure out when to implement it. So that is one part of it. I'll focus more on the generative AI part today and how the certain areas and use cases that in my opinion will work. So we also trigger some elements in the brain कि उसकी industry usages किस तरीके से होंगी. Education, I'll begin with that because that is one of the largest segments. Number one. Number two, Pakistan population parity or division is, most of the youngsters that we rely on for our future are in that space. So in education, whether it is K-12 or universities or whether it is training programs, generative AI will become more and more impactful when it comes to interacting with students. You will reside as a model, as a business model inside, a compute or infrastructure, where when you are submitting an assignment, when you are asking a question to a teacher, you will be responded according to your set parameters and your model that is an individual entity within that infrastructure. For example, you are good with moles in chemistry, so they might not give you that much detail on the basics of the moles, but will jump onto a much higher level because your result, your previous assignments have proven to the model that you are better at that subject or that topic within that subject. So we will dive a level deeper into an education space where it will not be a monotonous kind of a one-way learning opportunity for everyone, जो कि स्टूडेंट को मिल रही होगी कि जिसमें एक बात हो रही है, ये उसको ग्रैब कर रहे हैं, ये उसको नहीं ग्रैब कर रहे, या ये कह रहे हैं कि आई ऑलरेडी नो दिस, द अदर पर्सन इज सेइंग कि जी मुझे तो ये नहीं करना. और सिमिलरली व्हेन यू आर गोइंग बैक एंड यू आर आस्किंग क्वेश्चंस और रीडिंग द बुक, you are not spending extra time going through the content which you already is aware of. So that is one very important aspect, and that will also apply to trainings. Currently we have seen a bunch of training programs where bunch of employees are gathered and they are taken to a resort or maybe in a room, and you go through a similar kind of content. Half of the employees are like I know about it, half of like that's good stuff. So for the half of them it is productive, for the other half it is not, right? So personalized level of trainings. And the other part where some of the research is being done, rather some generative AI related elements are already in practice, is the teachers which are present in the AI models, whether you call them chatbots. मैं उनकी बात नहीं करूँगा, bots हैं, ये हैं. That is how you implement the technology. Because there are various ways you can implement a chatbot. You can implement some kind of a listening model, a thing that is going to speak up to you. So that's how technology is implemented. So that is an education is one part which is going to be really disrupted. And I think in my opinion, since we are already heavily, from a class level perspective, are dependent on Cambridge system where a certain tier is above, but in terms of numbers, the other system is obviously much, much higher number, but we do not have any such element going to be there. And since education is a very pivotal part, so all of our industry leaders should think that once Cambridge will introduce, or any other system which is more powerful or more technology enabled will introduce such things, you will lose all the other benefits that you were able to sell from your core underlying systems that you said are going to benefit you, because then the difference will increase in such a massive way that you just have to move your kids from your current system, which do not support these technologies, to a system that does. So, अभी तो आप कह रहे हैं ना कि तुम भी किताब पढ़ रहे हो, ये बच्चा भी किताब पढ़ रहा है, वो मैट्रिक में पढ़ रहा है, वो जब कहेंगे नहीं यार, we are having these models, these bots and this other stuff where you can interact with, and the other people simply do not have nothing, so how will you compete? So you put 80% of your population at a massive disadvantage at an education level right away. So just think about that. That's the power of disruption that the technology brings. And मैं अक्सर लोगों को एक बात बताता हूँ कि अब तो खैर it is public knowledge. 2011 when I was working for Microsoft, हमने जब ML लिखनी शुरू की ना, और बड़ी एक इंटरेस्टिंग बात यह है कि for it is a very proud moment for Pakistanis. Office की team is primarily mostly Indians, but Azure जो team थी, that is primarily Pakistanis. A lot of Pakistanis work there, and in fact, a lot of people, a couple of Karachi Fastians, some GIK guys, they said that Azure was written under their tables actually. So they started writing ML at a tier where a user will interact with, but then they realized we need to move the ML to a more of a platform level, so it predicts the user behavior in order to increase the platform prior to the user burst is going to come your way. समझ रहे मार? So that is a very interesting phenomenon, and people were like, what are you doing? It is not required. In 2017, it was realized that if that was not done, the system would have cannibalized itself, right? But anyway, so that is the education part. The other part is the pharmacy part, a pharmaceutical part, where drugs, how they are used, the patterns that you are going to emerge, because it is most of a plain vanilla AI kind of a thing where you are going to do predictive work, and predictive algorithms are going to predict the medical outcome of, or the pharmaceutical outcome, and you will have more different type of drugs. And this is also relevant because Pakistan has a small set of pharmaceutical industry as well. But one of the biggest area, in my opinion, where AI will, or generative AI will have an impact, is the healthcare part. And healthcare globally is the most, or the least penetrated industry, and the most impactful, because once, God forbid, anything happen, that is the priority for us, right? If बीमार हैं, बच्चे बीमार हैं, खुद बीमार हैं, कुछ जो हमारा खानदान में लोग बीमार हैं, everything, your work stops, your leisure stops, and so people are so afraid of bringing AI into that space because of the human element. कि अगर AI ने गलत predict कर दिया तो कोई जिम्मेदारी कौन लेगा? डॉक्टर कहते हैं मैं जिम्मेदारी नहीं लूंगा. But technology will penetrate there, where not probably in your operation theaters to begin with, or probably not in your diagnosis part, but the biggest penetration will happen in the imaging area, where your CT scans, your X-rays, your MRIs, they will get an immediate response to you the moment it is being created. Philips, Toshiba, Siemens, ये 4-5 बड़े नाम हैं जो आपने देखे होंगे. जब आप MRI machine देखते होंगे, Toshiba की होगी, Hitachi की होगी. They are already working on these technologies that, as the scan is going on, because you require in generative AI, हम कह तो रहे हैं बड़े नाम से बात, it is extremely expensive. अगर हम यहाँ पे national policy बनाने की बात भी सोच रहे हैं, it is extremely expensive from a compute standpoint to have generative models, या generative AI. Very expensive. उसके लिए मैं अगले टॉपिक पे बात करता हूँ आके कि किस तरह हम उसको देखेंगे. So healthcare की space में, that is the primary area where the impact will come in. अच्छा, हमारे पाकिस्तान में क्या पॉलिसी? मैंने हेल्थ केयर में इसमें थोड़ा सा काम किया है. I know how these devices are integrated through PACS and DICOM interfaces. ये 2-4 interfaces पे communicate करती हैं. पाकिस्तान में 90% machines जो आती हैं ना, जो तोशिबा, अव्वल तो वो आती सेकंड हैंड है, और उनमें इंटरफेस कार्ड ही नहीं होते, वो निकाल लिए जाते क्योंकि वो महंगे बिकते हैं. तो हमारे यहाँ अक्सर वो सिलसिला होता है, वो अलग से प्रिंट निकलेगा, फिर वो रेडियोलॉजी की मेज पे जाएगा, वो कहेगा जी साहब शाम को आएंगे, ठीक है ना, आपको 12 घंटे बाद, 18 घंटे बाद, 24 घंटे बाद रिपोर्ट मिलती है. द वर्ल्ड विल चेंज विद दिस काइंड ऑफ generative AI with the models. अच्छा, now when we talk about AI, there are two variations. अब हम industry की बात करते हैं. B2C तो हम देख रहे हैं जी, लोग बात कर रहे हैं, communicate कर रहे हैं. B2C is very lucrative. Massive amount of infrastructure is there because the data is being captured. AI is all about data. What you do is you constantly tune the underlying model, the LLM part of it, right? You inject new data elements to it, new parameters to it, it auto learns, and then you have a different output coming out of it. But B2C तो आप सारे देख रहे हैं, business to consumer की बात. जब हम B2B models की बात करते हैं, उसमें एक दो examples मैं आपको देता हूँ कि for example marketing is one of the most massive areas. How AI, अभी भिड़े साहब बात कर रहे थे कि AI will eliminate jobs. मैं आपको example देता हूँ किस तरह की jobs eliminate होंगी और किस तरह reskill हमें करना पड़ेगा अपने आप को. The job it will eliminate, for example, in a media agency that you are working, you have to be more, focused upon ideation and let the generative AI create the collateral for you. And अब आपने कहा ठीक है, collateral create के लिए तो AI इस्तेमाल होगी. Where is the B2B part? आपने उसको बोला I need a nice ad or a reel or a paper or an article which talks about fall in Hunza, and it should have Pasu Kone's image in it and couple of images. The B2B AI model will start working on it. At the back end, it has rates negotiated with Shutterstock. So B2B2 models are talking. It has some nice music rates, probably negotiated with Spotify. It is going to pick the content from there. It has some legal association with some legal activity, so your video, your content doesn't get legal issues. So this is how you are going to go and do a B2B activity kind of a thing. And the same goes with your teaching assistants. They will vanish away. Assistants, probably in terms of doctors, that how they are being managed and they are running the show for the patients. So these are the models. The mass of the models will go away. People will remain who have the ability to create business models. Those are the people that will remain. So that is pretty much it. Retail industry will get impacted. Manufacturing is already getting impacted. AI is generating a lot of work in warehouses where you do not need heating and cooling. Amazon implemented 5 warehouses in US. One of them I saw which do not have any lights, do not have any cooling or any heating. Robots are working in it. Generative AI is doing a lot of work. They are saving massive amount of money. They don't need a parking lot for people to come in. They don't need to invest in the washrooms. They don't need to put a cafeteria, and they don't need massive insurance कि अगर कोई accident हो जाए हमें उसको कैसे cover करना है. So consider these things. And for the B2B models, AI will not drive the business. The business objectives have to be clear to help AI help them. Technology will disrupt, but it is better that business should be ready. And for that, people within those organizations should be ready to accept the change, because they are the one who are going to accept it, or they are the one behind the failure. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Tahir Masood sir, especially for highlighting that AI is already changing the world, as we know, and especially the education part. This is, I think, the most exciting thing. There are, as some people pointed out from the crowd, there are, of course, the negatives, the cons, but there are lots of pros also. If I could ask a question, of course, we are not having question answers now. I would have asked कि under the table कैसे लिखते हैं? You said on the table. He said, नहीं वो आप कह रहे थे ना Azure की टीम ने software में under the table लिखा है. Probably you meant something. Of course, you can.
What I meant was that there is a statement there that there are a couple of people, senior guys, who designed Azure, right? So वो पाकिस्तानी है तो कहा जाता है कि जी उनकी टेबल के नीचे Azure conceive किया गया.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah.
I thought so. Our second panelist to speak is Mr. Waqas Birni, and he will be speaking online. He's presently based in Singapore, and he has been with Google for the last over 8 years. He currently leads the company's crisis response efforts for natural disasters in the Asia Pacific region and beyond. Some of the recent regional projects include the deployment of machine learning based flood forecasting system that alert and protect over 100 million people in Bangladesh, and the use of machine learning and satellite imagery to identify more than 60,000 damaged buildings in KPK and Sindh during last year's floods in Pakistan. Waqas is now working to extend these AI-based solutions to other countries across the Asia-Pacific region. Waqas holds an MBA from LUMS and an engineering degree from GIK. Mr. Waqas Berni, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Can everyone hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. Is my presentation up and running? Because I am unable to share my presentation. Agar aap logon ke paas hai, to that would be perfect. The presentation has not changed. Perfect. This works. Acha ji, thank you for the very generous introduction, Pervez Sahab. And again, I unfortunately cannot see a lot of people in the room. Just as Pervez Sahab ne taaruf karwaya, my name is Waqas and I lead some of the crisis response partnerships in the region. Now, as he also mentioned, that essentially means us trying to take some of our technologies that we're trying to use for climate crisis to the governments in the region. And what I wanted to do today was share a few of these technologies to you all. Now, the idea of sharing some of these technologies is that we are talking about some real world challenges and using AI to bring up with some real solutions in the space of climate driven natural disasters. So I wanted to share that. The way Tahir Saab Abhi just mentioned this before me was the disruption will happen. Every industry, chahe wo vanilla AI ho, chahe wo generative AI ho, B2B ho, B2C ho, the disruption will happen. The way I will want to present this today is more from an opportunistic perspective. How can we use this platform, this technology to our advantage? How are big companies using it? Some of those solutions coming to life and why we really, really need it. Now, if we can, before moving on to the next slide, actually, there's one more that I wanted to add. Kal ka Financial Times padh raha tha main, and yesterday's Financial Times says that the Paris Accords pe jo 1.5 degrees Celsius ka jo hamara aim tha, we are far beyond that aspirational goal. We're headed more towards 3 degrees Celsius. 2.9 is what they specifically said. So global warming and a lot of climate crisis that follows, they've mentioned up to 10 times an increase in temperature, to 3 times increase in rainfall precipitation, 4 times increase in drought. Ye kal ka main aapko bata raha hu. So the climate change, the domain that I work in, urgent threat, no need to talk about it. And so let's talk about a few examples where we are trying to solve some of these challenges. And again, please don't view this as me trying to talk about a Google technology. Most of these are actually out. Some of them are even open. Think of it as a problem and a solution. So if we move to the first one, flood forecasting. And I'll briefly touch on every one of these. So flood forecasting is one of our domains where the research teams essentially model to forecast when and where riverine floods, riverine for now, will occur around the world. आज से कोई 5 साल पहले a very humble effort started. India में शुरू किया था पटना में around one river bank. And the idea was to see that, well, can we somehow predict how this will happen? The program expanded into other countries, into other cities. The second country was Bangladesh, where I went to the government of Bangladesh and said, "Ki chale, ek station pe shuru karte hain." And as time progressed, we now cover the entire country. Today, the flood forecasting technology, which I will just show you in a slide, is live around 80 countries in the world. Up to 1,800 sites in different points of the riverbanks are covered by this forecasting technology. Up to 7 days in advance, floods predict kar rahe hain, covering roughly a population of half a billion people. Pakistan is included. There's opportunity to do more. But just to go a little more into it, if we go to the next slide, how it happens. Sorry, we can just go on, continue, please. Next slide. And just again, without going into the technical parts of it, 3-step process on how this technology was developed. First was to understand, okay, when flood seasons come up, how do rivers behave? Precipitation data, historical, global data, public data, temperature, precipitation, just to understand how forecasts change around discharge. Then the second is the inundation model that you see over here, which is using high-res satellite imagery and trying to create digital elevation maps. And then simulating the first model, the output of the first model, millions of times onto the second one. And then being able to, with a particular confidence, be able to say that, well, this is where a flood will happen. And then the third layer is alert dissemination, where across Google products and more, we disseminate alerts to agencies. The reason I talk about this technology in a bit more detail here is just to sort of also highlight to you the depth and what it takes to address some of these challenges. If we go on to the next slide, the output of these models is available into what I personally call as the Google map for floods. It's called the Flood Hub. The Flood Hub is essentially an interactive map. Anyone can go and view it. It will show you how river water will change over time, the flood depth, up to 7 days in advance, again, for areas and sites where it is active. We're working with governments to try and tailor and improve both coverage and quality. The idea is we try and facilitate governments, aid local organizations to only do more. And this information is completely non-commercial. It's all available out there for free of charge to whoever needs it. Let's move on to another technology now. Next slide, please. Wildfires. Again, using AI ML to detect and track wildfires in real time. It's available in some countries in the world. If we go to the next slide. So we all know that jab jungle mein aag lagti hai, it is very important to know exactly how the blaze is tracking. Obviously, wanting to avoid areas which are critical. Sorry, the animation is not showing in the slide that you would be seeing right now. But what we essentially do is leverage satellite imagery and then ML to track wildfires as they grow in real time. And the best part is the updates come every 15 to 20 minutes. Historically, because of satellite data istemal karte the, updates would come every 24 hours with geostationary satellites. In plain vanilla language, this is satellite hopping, and you're able to get updates every 15 to 20 minutes. And now, as an end user, you can literally on your phone be able to see the approximate size and the direction of the blaze. And then again, at Google, it's very important that they try and track and leverage the technology but also disseminate the information. So if you search for a fire on Google search, a specific fire in a particular town, the approximate boundary, the name, the location, government authoritative numbers, hotlines, they all show up. If you search up on Google Maps, actually, there is a layer, a fire layer. You can look for fires anywhere in any part of the world. If you go on to the next slide. So the same level of detail. There's a wildfire layer, and you can actually see in real time on how fires are tracking in different parts of the world. The product is again live in some parts of the world because of various technical issues, but the product continues to grow. And then let's go on to yet another technology. If you go to the next slide, please. Disaster assessment. So as much as we try to predict kab salab aana hai, kab kahan aag phail rahi hai, the fact is, unfortunately, with the fact that I shared on the global warming statistic from Financial Times yesterday, the climate crisis is just escalating way faster than we would like it. And so early warning systems, as much as the focus United Nations ka and our countries try to focus, we've still seen havoc. Earlier this year, we saw Turkey, Syria. last year we saw floods in Pakistan. And so when disasters like this happen, so there's this urgent need, informational gap on kahan salab aaya hai, kitna nuksan hua hai, kitna, how bad is it? And those sort of questions are what some of the most capable governments in the world find themselves asking in the first 24, 48 hours. And so another example of AI technology is for post-disaster assessment. Now, if we can go on to the next slide, this is essentially using ML for automated damage assessment in the aftermath of a disaster. So we use satellite imagery, we use machine learning to provide automated and scaled damage assessments for disaster response. And the idea over here is, and I'll talk about this a bit more, I've worked extensively on this one. The idea is to essentially try and increase speed, coverage of awareness on damage, to be able to inform governments, to be able to inform better distribution of humanitarian aid, so on and so forth. Pakistan, as was kindly mentioned in the introduction, last year when the floods came, we were literally 3 people, and me being the 3rd person, which tried to take this very, very nascent technology. There was a PM, there was an engineer, and there was myself. And we tried to knock on the doors and worked with some people in KPK in Sindh. And again, very nascent technology. You can understand how nascent it would be if it's only a 3-member team. But within a few days, we were able to identify some 60,000 buildings which were damaged or destroyed. Next slide. This year, we've extensively tried to extend this beyond floods. So now testing the technology on hurricanes, last year, Ian pe ki thi, earthquakes. I was leading deployment in Turkey and Syria for this, wildfires. And the idea is that, yes, our capabilities allow us to get better with some of this technology, but it is not possible without working closely with the people on ground. How do you classify a disaster? What is a major damaged house versus a minor damaged house versus a completely destroyed house? Every government, every authority has its own definition. So the challenges are quite real. But again, for me, what is most marvelous is just the possibilities. And the one slide that I don't have over here is just last week, DeepMind, Google DeepMind announced GraphCast. So this is now using AI to model faster and more accurate weather forecasting. But the claim here now is that from a 10-day forecasting window, GraphCast is the most accurate forecasting system in the world. And it is open source for anyone to use. So that is where I will wrap up. But I think I'll close with this. And next slide is the last slide. I'll close with this. In many domains, whether we like it or not, we will have to take advantage of technology. And in the domain that I particularly sit in, the vanilla AI domain, the ML domain, there is a lot of progress that is happening. And it is, whether we like it or not, we should and we will take advantage of all of these. I'll stop over here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Waqas. Very interesting talk, especially because you showed some tangible examples from the region, all very relevant for us. Floods, of course, we have wildfires, we have just very near to us in the Maglas almost every year. So thank you. Thanks a lot. Pakistan, of course, is one of the top affectees of climate change, and this is extremely important for us. Thank you once again. Our next speaker is probably the most learned of all, and of course, also the most difficult to get to. I'm referring to Dr. Yasir Ayaz Saab. Dr. Saab is the founding chairman and central project director of Pakistan's National Center of Artificial Intelligence, NCAI at NUST, where he is also the full professor. He also founded Pakistan's first Department of Robotics and AI in 2010. He holds international adjunct professor titles at Tohoku University, Japan, and China University of Mining and Technology, Beijing. He is the author of over 150 international publications and has won international West Paper Awards in UK and Australia. He has 3 product design patents in his name, with several more under review. He has been awarded Lifetime Achievement Award by IEEE Islamabad and President's Award for Pride of Performance in 2021. Very impressive, Dr. Saab. The floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you to the organizers for inviting me. If you could have my slides on the screen. So given the topic of today's discussion, like I've tried to tailor my talk with the potential of AI in Pakistan, giving you some stats and figures, and also coming to some of the products that we have developed in Pakistan, just giving you a glimpse of some of those. Next, please. Okay, so this is just a sequence of the presentation. Next. AI, as we know, is one of the biggest technologies in the world as we speak. Many say it's a technology of the future, but I think we all know by now that it's no longer the future. AI is the present, right? In fact, like the Industry 4.0 era, which is said to have begun in the year 2010, and then the Industry 5.0 era, which has now begun in 2020, both of these eras are actually based upon integration of artificial intelligence technology with the industry. And if you look at the global CEOs, the global CIOs, actually, this is a survey by Medium. So one of the surveys indicated that 72% of the world's chief innovation officers of the lead tech companies of the world actually want artificial intelligence to be, on the top of their company's wish list, right? So if you come to the actual practical implementation of AI, next, please. Okay, so now this has started working. So I have more control. So if you look at more statistics, the way that artificial intelligence is progressing, Statistica indicates that around $126 billion investment has already taken, will take place by the year 2025. Gartner tells us that 35% of the expansion of artificial intelligence, this has taken place in the recent 4 years, like 270% of artificial intelligence has expanded during the last 4 years. We see NASDAQ and the charts are going way overboard, and the reason why these numbers are of this sort is that artificial intelligence, being the general purpose technology that it is, it is forecasted to add like a GDP contribution of around $15.7 trillion to the GDP, the global GDP, by the year 2030. The reason for that is that AI is a general purpose technology, that you can integrate this with a lot of other technologies around the world. You can look at disaster management, for example. You can look at even clothing design, for instance, music design, for instance. Like we have recently seen ChatGPT, for instance. Generative AI, by the way, this is a technology that is forecasted to have a real impact in 3 to 6 years yet. So what we're seeing with generative AI is yet the tip of the iceberg. It's not the real impact of generative AI. It's yet to come. So with AI, it is regarded as the new electricity because it has so widespread impacts. The predictions are there, and the numbers are also there to indicate that this thing is actually happening. Just the defense market, for example, for AI stands at around 16 billion. It's like valued at over $16 billion globally right now. So with every field, when you touch it, artificial intelligence is like that, continuing in numbers. The global AI market size is expected to grow like around 37% every year from 2023 to 2030. If you look at, this I already mentioned, that more than $15 trillion is the expected GDP contribution. If you look at the AI market size growth overall, so it's expected to stand at $407 billion by the year 2027. Now, particularly coming to the job displacement, for instance, artificial intelligence is to, number one, create around 133 million new jobs by the year 2030, because whenever new technology comes in, new jobs are created. These are the jobs which will be directly created by AI. And of course, a lot of other jobs will also be implied because of those. and the jobs which will be displaced, the workers that will be displaced, the estimates say that this is around 400 million workers who will be displaced because of artificial intelligence. So for the naysayers, here are some numbers that you can build on, right? So if the use cases for businesses as well as individuals are pretty obvious. Like, I think hardly any one of us in this room can say that since morning we haven't used Instagram or Facebook or Google. All these technologies, all these companies are basically AI companies. They work, their primary core technology is artificial intelligence, right? Because with Google, the search algorithm is AI, the ML, the statistics that they pick out, the insights that they sell, this is also artificial intelligence, and so many other like technologies that Google makes, Google X and all that. So similarly with Instagram, with Facebook, the technology, the core technology behind all of this is artificial intelligence. So this, of course, for individuals, this has big impact because in our lives, from morning to evening, we keep using artificial intelligence here and there. And this is why I say that, you know, many people kept, saying that maybe AI is too advanced for Pakistan right now, or maybe we need to invest in whenever, because I contributed in writing the science and technology innovation policy and also the national research agenda. So when you discuss with many, people, stakeholders from around Pakistan, people say that our problems sometimes are very basic. We don't even have electricity. So this was a very prominent seminar. Also, some people were remarking, but the issue is that we are using AI developed by the world. So what's the harm in developing some AI, use it ourselves and export some of that too, right? It's a big business potential for Pakistan. And I think that should be the main target of our, discussion, and also our, the way we approach artificial intelligence. Coming to specifically Pakistan. So I think the first notable, of course, there have been many projects and stuff in artificial intelligence, which have been funded by various organizations, including the Higher Education Commission, including Ignite, including, Pakistan Science Foundation, many others. Many companies have actually spawned, which had some sort of applications of AI in one way or the other. But the major notable initiative, which you can actually put on ground, we can peg on the ground, and you can say that this was Pakistan's big step into AI, was the establishment of Pakistan's first Department of AI and Robotics back in the year 2010, where we actually started, creating graduates, churning out graduates in this field of AI and robotics. The first master's and PhD programs were launched in 2011, and for over a decade, I was heading this department. I did my PhD from Japan in 2009, and after I came back in the year 2009, we started this in the year 2010, just after that, right? So one of the famous labs in this is RISE Lab. You might have heard the name, but anyway, this has been established for a long time. So some of its projects are cited by global top universities like MIT, Carnegie Mellon, Georgia Tech, you name it. So it's cited all over from there, right? So in 2018, the government established the National Center of Artificial Intelligence, and through a rigorous process, which was a competitive process from 2016 to 2018, it's a 2 years, nearly 1.5 year competition. So through that, the government selected 9 labs across, various 6 universities in Pakistan, which are spread in Pakistan. I'll show you which ones in the next slide. So, and I was asked to lead the National Center of Artificial Intelligence in 2018. So we've been working in various directions, doing research, training HR, imparting trainings to the industry, creating curriculum for the universities, and I'll tell you, some glimpse of the stuff we've been doing. Another major initiative which has been cited recently by Medium as well, that there has been impact because of a lot of training programs run by others as well. So the Presidential Initiative for Artificial Intelligence Computing was a big, training initiative, especially for the entry-level AI graduates, right? So there are several levels of AI training. I'll cover some of them later in the presentation. So this was for the entry-level AI people who have some background in computer science, but who want at least a basic insight into AI so that they can start working with some of the basic stuff, right? And leverage some of the, at least the freelancing or the basic level AI opportunities. But this did have an impact. And when you train people in Pakistan, when you start doing local work and people start seeing it abroad, that results in people from foreign countries also starting to look at Pakistan as a destination where they can possibly do some R&D, or where they can possibly, like Keep Trucking was a big example. It's a major US company, very well-known name, renamed as Motive, and then moved their research and a lot of their offices to Pakistan. And there was a big a conference also organized by them, I think in 2021 maybe, or 2022 in Lahore at PC at that time. And this was a major example. So we can look at Kaular has recently moved to Pakistan. We can look at a lot of other, major names. We can try to establish their offices in Pakistan if we demonstrate this capability that we have enough number of people. And, the IT graduates, we are producing nearly 600,000 IT professionals every year. So Pakistan has actually 600,000 IT professionals at present, and we add nearly 25,000 fresh IT graduates to this every year. So we need to equip them and enable them with artificial intelligence knowledge so that they can actually contribute to the workforce. And, this will make Pakistan a destination for which a lot of people from abroad can also try to come here. See, with AI, this has become easier for companies because you can have your cloud services, your high performance computers located in the US and benefit from the cheap manpower in the developing world if they produce good coding, if they have good coding skills, and they can produce worthwhile technology. And a lot of our companies like Systems and many others are providing services abroad too, which actually opens up some of the doors for foreigners to come here as well. So this is just a spread of the national center that we have that I introduced to you earlier. So let me come back to it. Okay, yeah. So we have, like, on the right, you see, like, these are the labs on the right side of the Pakistan map. These are the labs in which we've invested at least 100 million Pakistan rupees, right? So to create at least a basic like technology generation, you could say center where people could actually learn artificial intelligence and also develop a lot of AI products based on their respective themes. So starting from deep learning, intelligent field robotics, medical imaging, disaster management, smart mining, spatial estimations for mining, mineral resource estimations, agent-based computing, digital twins, for instance. We have intelligent criminology, technologies for surveillance, etc. Neurocomputation, both the neurological interfaces as well as neuromorphic hardware computer design, and also the smart cities. And we have started several projects in which the industry also invested and the center also invested. So co-investment of these technologies, and with a lot of private universities also, we also brought them into loop. We have multiple projects with FAST, with LUMS, and we have worked on projects to reduce the industrial downtime, for instance, in Karachi with several industries. Some of our, many of our software are now deployed in hospitals, etc. Some of the big successes, actually, one of the major ones, you'll see a lot of images here, a lot of videos here, components which actually indicate some sort of surveillance. So in surveillance, for instance, the safe cities are big initiative. Like just recently, there's news of new safe city in Rawalpindi as well. There has been in recent past, there has been a launch of safe city in Karachi as well. Most of the safe city technologies, including the Islamabad that we have in Pakistan, we import the AI technology with you could say proprietary cameras which already have built-in artificial intelligence that provide little to no adaptability. For instance, you want to train a camera to recognize a local made rickshaw for which it was not trained abroad. So it's difficult to do that with the foreign cameras that you bring in, which are already fixed to, detect some kind of vehicles, etc., for which they are pre-trained. So the R system, which we have developed, actually is flexible. It works with various kinds of vehicles. It detects, it has face recognition capabilities as well. It has two different modes with normal running in normal city as well, and another one for specifically for events and gatherings, etc. So this system is now deployed and running, managing the biggest city in Punjab, which is Lahore. So Lahore, Kasur, all the way up to Nankana, Kala Shah Kaku, all these systems are actually powered, built by homegrown, locally developed technologies which our center has built. Even their GPUs have been configured by our center, and now this is running in this whole area. Also in the second biggest city in the KPK region, the Mardan city. This is also powered. All their AI-based safe city surveillance is actually locally, domestically built. Even some camera infrastructure is deployed by our center. And now this is running, and this is a proven example. And this is an export-ready technology. If we want to send it somewhere abroad, we certainly can, right? So we keep showcasing it in different forums, and this is one of such technologies. In medical, we've had significant progress. The BRATS challenge, for instance, featured one of our algorithms, which is called BrainWiz. So this is we are working on this now in collaboration with Aga Khan Hospital in Karachi and with several other hospitals in Pakistan. So this detects brain tumors, the segmentation and identification of tumors, and even the prediction, life expectancy prediction is there as well. So in the BRATS challenge, which is one of the biggest challenges of AI in the world, we stood third in the world with the brain tumor segmentation. And we have other software towards tuberculosis, COPD. We worked with this in the COVID time as well. In fact, in COVID time, the Sindh government central app, which was collecting data from all over Sindh, was actually powered by our center. We developed that app actually for several, like to keep the shopping centers open. We developed software which detected the violations of SOP in various places, and different shopping centers gave us different idea. This is one of the famous shopping malls in Islamabad that actually gave us the idea that if somebody's coughing, we should develop an algorithm for that. We have footfall detection algorithms that have been tested in Giga Mall and Packages Mall and several other places. We have like our own online AI-based education systems, because we recognize our responsibility to number one, to teach AI, and number two, to improve overall education system of Pakistan using AI, right? So iPadhai is an initiative which actually gives you AI-based feedback. For example, you are learning using online lectures. So what it has is that it has animated content, some generative AI generated, some manually generated, mixed kind of content. And based on the quizzes it does on the way, it gives you advice regarding where your weaknesses are, and you go back. So I can't cover all the products. We have actually developed more than 221 products during the last 4 years. And we've done business, the funding that actually is not the government funding, not the PSDP funding, the business oriented funding, the project development funding that we've generated during the last around 4 years is around 903 million Pakistan rupees, right? So we are very much in the field. We are sitting inside universities. Pakistan's top intelligentsia identified by the Higher Education Commission on competitive grounds and brought together, with our integration with the industry, we are trying to actually spearhead a lot of, AI effort for Pakistan. We have produced 32 startup companies, which are now doing their own businesses in the country. So in the center, you see that like here, there are 4 rings. So the second ring from the outside, you see these are the startup companies, 32 startup companies, which we have actually, they are based upon the products developed by the center. And then the startup companies are now taking them to the market and selling, because we also want to export this technology now. So the startups have, a more agile structure with which they can carry the technology abroad. And a lot of partners in Pakistan and abroad have teamed up with us, and we are actually trying to work with them as well. So if you come to the challenges that, based on our, experience in Pakistan so far, what are the major challenges that are there, and, how to approach them, some of the solutions that we have actually put on the table. Thank you. So the first one is the availability and the quality of data. If you've worked in Pakistan, you know how hard it is to get data. For example, in hospitals, etc., it would be easier because at least they have data. If you make them interested in sharing it, wonderful, you got yourself. But for a lot of other things, like if you want meteorological data, you want satellite data for something, it's not that easy to come by in Pakistan. If you want, other data regarding, various things in the city, from the smart city, safe city applications, you need to be in a very, because like when our teams work with the safe city applications, we couldn't even get that data out of the safe city centers. Our teams used to sit inside the safe city centers. We configured their GPUs on their premises, and there's no AWS, there is no Azure, there is no Google, which they're using to actually give, put any data or something. It's a totally in-house solution, which has been, even the hardware has been configured by our team. So AI algorithms need a large amount of data, right? So there's a big National Center for Big Data also trying to solve this problem. Another is to, the need for the skilled professionals. So during our time, we have enabled a lot of organizations in Pakistan to set up their own AI centers, because, we are the national center. We are not just a competitor for any company or any, so we are the national hub. Our job is to network, connect, and encourage the AI development for everybody. We are not NUST, we are not UET, we are everyone. We are the AI community of Pakistan, right? So we have to, number one, enable our youth to benefit from the AI opportunities abroad, and also many of the skilled professionals who are working in the industry, they have to be reskilled, so that they adopt this AI technology, they learn this AI technology, for which we have made special certifications, which we keep offering. I'll show you some of those in the next slides. And also recently we are working with the ethical concerns surrounding AI algorithms, and we have contributed to the UNESCO's standard setting instrument for artificial intelligence, the ethics for AI, which they have made public. So we were part of that negotiation with them, and we keep contributing with the government in various respects as well, in terms of policy making pertaining to artificial intelligence. one of the star trainings that we have in artificial intelligence is the certified artificial intelligence professional. This is for developers who actually sit and develop AI hands-on, right? So like many people who have a computer science degree, who have studied 1 or 2 courses of AI during their degree time, in order to convert them into proper professionals who have experience on wide and different varieties of data, who can deal with raw data and actually hands-on process them, put them on real systems and get them up and running. To get that thing running, this is a 4-month certification, which is 2 days in a week, and many times people on the job are taking it. So many organizations nominate their developers to come to us, and we offer this training. It's running right now as well. So it's a continuously running training. We offer minimum 2 batches per year, sometimes 3 batches as well, depending upon the demand from the industry, right? Okay, before I can change the slide. Okay, I can change the slide, but you have to push okay still. Not wanting to break the momentum of the presentation, I'll just keep going until the slides can be brought back on the screen. So another training that we have, which is very prominent one, is the AI for Leaders training. So this is for basically for CXOs, for senior level professionals. It's only 2 days, 4 hours, 2 days, and it's like a very popular training. With recently we had 21 very senior level officers, CXO level officers, who actually attended the training at NUST as well. So this the insight, what this enables you to do is how you can transform your organization using AI, how to envision products using artificial intelligence, how to, for example, if you want to bring AI into one area, how to really understand it yourself and conceive it yourself, how you can transform the landscape and get the maximum benefit of artificial intelligence by integrating that into your company. So this is also very sought after training. We just concluded the 2nd batch of it just recently. Also we have like specialized trainings which we have actually started on demand of the industry. So these are specialized trainings in some of the domains like applied artificial intelligence, machine ML ops, for instance, the applied machine learning, generative AI. This is a very big area. It's being said that by the year 2025, 10% of the total data existing in the world will be created by generative AI. So 10% of the total data, we are getting data from all the cameras. Imagine the safe city, the smart cities working in New York, in London, in all these places, all the cameras producing data, everyone writing something, also all the human beings working together. And, this thing, continuing for years and years and years, and generative AI just kicks in. And just in a few years, 10% of the world's data is created by generative AI. So that's the impact of generative AI, right? So, and this won't be just in large language models. Generative AI is going to produce engineering design. It's going to produce a lot of new things as well. So, big data management, AI in robotics, business intelligence, blockchain technology, cybersecurity. We have trainings in all of these areas. And these are like, hard, you could say, proper developer-oriented trainings that in which you can sit and learn development of this technology. We do a lot of outreach. President of Pakistan, many prominent personalities, ministers have made it to our events. The International Conference on Artificial Intelligence, we have this acronym which we have won from IEEE. Also, our acronym AI Techverse is you could say the product show, the road show, for instance, for Pakistan, where we like showcase the artificial intelligence technology. I remember the last time we did it, the first day was only CXO talks. We didn't have anybody else except the business leaders, right? So we have a lot of partners. As I said, we are about connecting, we are about enabling, we are about working together. We are the national center. We are all of you. Okay, we are the network which represents the AI community of Pakistan. So thank you very much, and I look forward to any questions that you might have. Thank you. If you want to connect with me, you can like scan the link tree, and you'll be able to get my contact information from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for a very enlightening talk. I mean, I feel so sorry that it has to be restricted to 12 minutes. We could have, of course, listen to you for half an hour. The most heartening thing to know is that a lot of work is being done locally, that we are up to speed, at least to some extent, and not dependent completely on others. Thank you very much once again. I'm sure we'll have some questions later on. Our next speaker is Mr. Nasr Minallah Mian. He is the lead country operations planning and digital/ICT sector, Pakistan Resident Mission Asian Development Bank. Mr. Nasser is leading business planning and digital ICT sector as I said, at ADB office in Pakistan. He has worked both with the public and private sectors in Pakistan before joining ADB. He has a management degree from the Australian National University, ANU, a master's degree in chemistry, and a law degree in Pakistan. Mr. Nasser, please.
Thank you so much. I'm extremely honored to be part of this panel. I'm not an expert on AI. However, I have a slightly zoomed out view on the subject, which, you know, I would like to use this opportunity to put on this table some points. Some maybe some data and a few words about policy. Maybe I think we've heard a lot on the technology side and what goes behind the computer. How many of you remember those shops in small towns maybe where the doctor ने लिख के लगाया होता था जी कंप्यूटर के जरिए इलाज? So, you know, older people in the room would remember that. You know, I do. So, you know, inner parts of Punjab and all. So the computers are finally coming for the doctors' jobs. You know, it's become real. So, but हम उस वक्त भी बड़े advanced थे. हम computer को इस तरह इस्तेमाल करते. But computer, see, AI, as the doctors have said, you know, it's not a nuclear technology. It's not about fission or fusion. So, you know, it's a replicable technology. It depends on the processing power you have and maybe the intelligence in the room. So it's good to know that we are looking at this technology as a possible export earning area. So you know, it's something that we can work on our own, which is extremely heartening. But so I look at AI as an intelligent support. It leverages data, and it works on data. So now there is also talk about existential threats being related to AI. So I really, being a basic scientist myself, it's hard for me to imagine that for now, but because I tend to see a lot of physics around it, the laws of physics and logistics that go into that kind of a discussion. So, but it gets intelligent, and there might come a time where it starts to improve itself, and that might be the point where you have that artificial general intelligence, which is going to work on itself and improve progressively. So as I said, it has to work. What it means for us, for example, in Pakistan, so it has to enable us to do better, so become more competent at what we do, serve as an aid, improve our trade. For example, you know, we are a $350 billion economy in terms of GDP. So compare that to, for example, the Chinese economy is 33% of the global industrial capacity, which is $5 to $10 billion. So what they are looking to do, you know, through AI is an upside of about 30 to 40%. So imagine what that is, you know, in terms of that means $3 to $4 trillion. That's the next phase of their industrial development. So given the fix that the Chinese economy currently is, so they're looking to pivot through this technology from the old drivers of growth of low-end manufacturing, consumer internet platforms, to technology-enabled industrial capacity and supply chains. Healthcare, of course, we've talked about. So the doctors are going to have a hard time, you know, when they have an intelligent. Already doctors complain कर रहे होते हैं कि जी patient आता है, अब उसको पहले सारा कुछ पता होता है. So he's asking us, you know, very difficult questions. So doctors, I notice, are not pleased with this, that patients are very well informed. So when the AI-enabled applications come, I suppose that is going to be another challenge, because at least at a general practitioner level, I think it's going to disrupt the practice. So coming home now, you know, Pakistan, I was surprised to find out that Pakistan is third largest in wheat production in Asia. And we are, you know, I mean, that's not a small number. You know, compare this to countries like Korea, for example. They don't have many agriculture produce. They probably bring in all the food. But, you know, we are also in at least 3 or 4 commodities. I think we are in the top 10 in the world. So there is a lot of improvement that technology can bring in terms of how we can improve our productivity. I mean, that's one of the important challenges, I think, which has not been mentioned in the room yet, is the total factor productivity that we can improve by using technology. And then, of course, we have 25,000 IT professionals coming out of the universities. But if you talk to people in the room, and they'll tell you that the employability is quite low. So you'll have about 20% people who are employable. And then we have exports of about 2.6 or $3 billion in terms of IT-enabled exports. But look at India, they're approaching $200 billion. So, I mean, we need to think on it for a second. So all our initiatives, for example, have to, at the end of the day, tie up to the GDP contribution. One, what is the fiscal impact, that these initiatives create? And if there are hard currency earnings on this. And our agriculture produce brings us about $5.4 billion of forex. So, there is ample scope for doing that. So the first and foremost challenge, for example, on the public policy side would be to have sustainability, not just in policy, but on implementation side. For example, the Digital Pakistan policy, for example, has been sitting on the shelf for so long. What has it done? What is the GDP impact of that policy so far? So that I think is something that we need to look at. So two things, I think total factor productivity and workforce readiness is going to increase or enhance our efforts or make us more like a suitable destination for FDI. Without FDI, I think it's going to be very difficult to sort of push our GDP up. And that's where AI can play a very good role. And also, I think it's important to see, we look at, we are a very analog society. So we think in analog terms and linear terms. So there is a need to actually look at this technology, which is growing exponentially, and much has been said on this. I don't want to dilate on that much further. So another interesting thought that I used to have, if it is going to be an existential threat, for example, not something which is very remote from a Pakistani standpoint, but you have to then think of who's the agent in this, whether it's the technology or it's the human. So if as long as we have the agency, probably existentialism will not come into play. But then you think of neural networks and connecting human minds to the network, and then you go to a picture where the agent might be, who's going to have the agency, maybe AI, which improves itself progressively. So some of these thoughts, and I also wanted to mention that what we wanted to do, because there's a lot of segmentation, disaggregation in terms of efforts in Pakistan, and there is no scale. There are lots of good things, and some of it mentioned today. So what we want to do, we will try and understand this ecosystem. An ecosystem is something which is connected, which is different parts of it interacting with each other in a very symbiotic way, and ultimately goes to sort of how we bring in the money, both in PKR and in hard currency. So that's the effort. So we're going to look at we're running a very thorough diagnostics of the country ecosystem. ADB is doing that, so just started implementing that. And then we want to have a sustainable policy framework and a 10-year roadmap on this. And also improve the understanding of key regulators on some of these new internet business models, so that there is an effective regulation, but there is also a regulation which encourages and develops this sector, because we need improvement on the fiscal side, both on the current side and on the PKR. So I'll stop here. And I'll again thank STPI very deeply. I'm deeply honored and touched, and for inviting me to talk about these things, and looking forward to listening to the panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nasrullah Saab, for your thought-provoking remarks, thought-provoking talk, and especially moving from old growth drivers to new growth drivers. Yeah. By the way, some doctors, you mentioned doctors are not very happy that people when the people come, they say, "Maine Google kiya tha, and I know this." But some doctors, they shortcut their explanation and say, "Aap Google kar le." Anyway. Okay, our next speaker will talk on the topic of policy and ethics, and his name is Mr. Aslam Hayat. He's also joining us online. He's a senior policy fellow, LairNasia, and a partner in Hayat and Noorwala, and former chief corporate affairs officer of Telenor Pakistan. Mr. Aslam's career spans over 30 years in reputed international organizations, both public and private sectors in the ICT space. He worked as the CEO of Pacific ICT Regulatory Resource Center in Fiji, a jointly funded project of World Bank and ADB. At MOIT, in Ministry of IT in Islamabad, he has also assisted in Pakistan's national telecom policy and biometric verification process, as well as the policies of Universal Service Fund, mobile cellular policy, and deregulation policy of 2003. He drafted Electronic Transaction Ordinance 2002 and Higher Education Commission Ordinance 2002. So a lot of experience in policy and legal and ethical issues. Mr. Aslam.
Thank you, Parvez Saab, and it was heartening to see a lot of development happening in Pakistan. I just looked at this whole subject, and I think it's extremely important that we also focus on responsible AI in addition to what is happening on ground, all the apps and all these solutions which are being proposed. So before I start my presentation, I would like to mention that this PPT was made with the help of ChatGPT. So I think it was extremely relevant to not just talk about the technology, but also show that what the technology can do in our daily lives. So it's when I look at what are the potentials of AI, and then seeing that how it can contribute in Pakistan. So essentially, in every area, there is a possibility of creating a positive impact. And we have just seen from Vikas and Dr. Saab on the solutions which are being worked on. But I think there are a lot more which can be done in order to create efficiencies, in order to have better results, like agriculture, health, education, finance. It's everywhere, including security and government services. So it is when we are working on those areas, we have certain limitations, and that also needs to be addressed. We need to overcome over the infrastructure limitations. We need to invest more on education and research. It's good to see that there is a center of excellence in NUST, but Nasser has also talked about the quality challenge. So I think that is an area where we need to invest more. There needs to be more collaboration. And then most important is to establish appropriate regulation. And I'll talk about it in a little more detail. It's great to see that Pakistan has already developed a draft AI policy. And there are a lot of good things in it. And when I was looking at it, it was quite interesting that there is a fund has been established to give resources to all those initiatives which are mentioned there. And in addition to that, there is also multiple places it talks about responsible AI. And I think that part is extremely important because if the responsibility part is not there, you would see a lot of challenges. For example, I just looked at some of the movies where AI takes over, so it's a bigger list. Then I also looked at some of the books. which talks about AI takeover. So it's not just fiction, it's not just movie, or it's just not novels. We have technology leaders who are warning us about this. And I think the top comment which we see from Elon Musk is, and I think it's worth quoting. It says that normally the way regulations are set up is where a bunch of bad things happen first, then there is a public outcry, and then the regulatory agencies start working on it, they set it up, they regulate, and it takes a very long time. So this was bad, but now with the AI, it's not something which represents a fundamental risk to the existence of civilization. I think it's a little extreme statement, but it gives you the message that we need to move fast on the regulation side also. And then I also saw this article from Henry Kissinger and Eric Schmidt and Daniel, which also talks about the challenges of being human in the age of artificial intelligence. And then we are seeing those early signs already. I can just quote you one example that in an experiment at a lab in Switzerland, the robots were designed to cooperate with each other to search out for beneficial resource and avoid the problematic areas. And very quickly, they saw that they were started lying to each other to actually go for those beneficial resources. And this was not part of the design. And then similarly, we have seen a lot of cases of biases. Facial recognition is one example where the AI system was actually having a better results with the white men gender instead of the dark skin men. Similarly, in another study, we see that there was a higher error rate when this voice recognition solutions were prescribing Black people's voice. And Amazon also terminated their AI hiring and recruitment solution because the algorithm was favoring male candidates over female one. And you know, the problem was that it was trained on 10 years data. And in that data, obviously, the dominance was male candidates. So we have quite a lot of ethical challenges. I mean, I've talked about biases, fairness, privacy, transparency, accountability, security, malicious use, and then privacy of the individual, which comes from the informed consent. So these are the 8 basic areas which needs to be addressed. One is the ethical use, fairness, accountability, transparency, privacy, safety, and this human AI collaboration. So for me, I think it's extremely important that when we're working on this area, we need to start working on the framework which are needed to make that this AI is not causing any harm or damage. So we need to establish a comprehensive ethical framework, guidelines, and code of conduct. And I'm talking about the indigenous AI solutions or AI generated programs. Because on the global side, a lot of work is going on, and I'll talk about that also. But the indigenous part also needs to take care of these challenges and employ techniques to make sure that the algorithm auditing, the curation, and then fairness is there to mitigate all those biases, to define clear line of responsibility and liability for implementing this AI-related issues, and there needs to be a redressal if there is an AI-related harm. For example, if there is an automated car has an accident, and then somebody is hurt on the road, then we need to decide that who is responsible. The driver sitting in the car but not controlling the car, the manufacturer of the car or somebody else who actually developed the software for it or the AI solution for it. So I think those areas needs to be clearly defined, and then also develop this explainable AI methods to make sure that we understand what is the decision-making process. It's more transparent and it's more understandable for the users and the other stakeholders. Then we need to integrate privacy by design and not just leave it open. Ensure that there is rigorous testing and validation and continuously monitoring of the AI to ensure that it's safe for the users and it's reliable. And then we can also design this AI system to augment human capability instead of making human as a rival or as a competitor. And then promote user empowerment, has to prioritize human-centric design principles and not just the AI designed centered design principles. And then most important is that the regulatory framework should not kill innovation. And I think that is extremely important. What we have seen in the past also, that whenever a regulation comes in, actually it's tried to stifle or slow down the innovation. So that should not be the objective here. We need to create a balance about innovation and also have protection of the users. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel. There is quite a lot of model frameworks are available. CISA roadmap actually came within this month. There was a US executive order last month. The European Commission has already drafted an Artificial Intelligence Act. OECD has given recommendations. UNESCO has already made their recommendation on the ethics of AI. And then this Brazilian parliament has also approved a bill and to regulate AI. So a lot of things are happening. And I think it's extremely important that we learn from the experience of the others and then come up with our own framework, which is helping the development, ensuring that it doesn't hurt innovation, and then at the same time provide a safety net for the users and ensure protection of against any harmful use of AI. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Aslam Saab. Very nice talk, especially your emphasis on responsible framework and emphasis on addressing the ethical issues. About regulation, of course, as you said, there are two opinions. When to have the regulation, either too early, then it kills innovation. When it's too late, it creates other problems. And thank you very much for sharing those other frameworks that are available now, including the one which came out within this month. Thanks once again. Our next, last but not least, is esteemed panelist is our chair today, Major General retired Hafizur Rahman, who is the chairman of PTA. He has over 37 years experience in national security, ICT development, spectrum management, digital transformation, cybersecurity, and policy making. General Hafiz holds BE Telecom and MS War Studies from NDU Islamabad. He has served as a key leadership positions dealing with ICT strategy and transformation, gaining vast experience in deployment of state-of-the-art telecom infrastructures, enhancing the redundancy and efficiency of networks, fiberization, right-of-way management, and data centers design and architecture. He's also served with UN in member countries. He's currently chairman PTA, as I said. In addition, he's board member of PIMRA, FAB, USFCO, and IGNITE. General Hafiz has been conferred with Hilal Imtiaz military by the government. The floor is yours, General Sir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dr. Abid, Brigadier Yassin, the other panelists, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I think we must thank the SDPI for inviting me to be part of these, esteemed panelists to learn something about artificial intelligence and what is happening in Pakistan and what is happening in the world. Because it may be something new for a person like me, how the artificial intelligence can reform the human life, and how can it help us. First of all, I think we must appreciate the SDPI, the entire team, for selecting this topic for the conference. So I think it is a very, very good decision by them to let's invite us these esteemed panelists, to let us know what is happening around the world and what we can do for Pakistan. By going through the SDPI previous some conferences, and I think the very, I would say, enlightening part was they present their recommendation to the government, what to do in that particular field, which is very important, I think, because we have been attending the conferences in different areas. But how to conclude that conference, we should have some recommendation at the national level to different people, how to implement those recommendations of the conferences so that we get benefit from the experts. So I'm going through the 1992 and probably 1993, some of the recommendation that they put across in the telecom sector to the government. And I was just wondering, as took as chairman PTA and saw, probably the roadmap that we adopted was most of the recommendation were from SDPI. So well done, sir. Thank you so much for those recommendations that you put across in 1992, I think 30 years back. Second thing, we learned a lot, we heard a lot regarding, the artificial intelligence. So I'll not touch, the technologies because I'm not a technical person. But I'll talk 2-3 important aspects. We talk of the regulation. So normally, the regulation come after the technology, because once the technology comes in, you absorb, you see how to regulate it. So it has to follow that, no doubt in it. Should not be too late, it should not be too early. Yes, that Aslam probably referred. The regulation should, support the technology. It should not create hurdles. And I think he was, one of the pioneer of the regulation in the PTA, I think telecom industry. And I think they did wonderful job at least in telecom industry. And now we have to work in the artificial intelligence regulation as well. But that is more important who, draft the regulation. I mean, the one who drafts the regulation should know what is the pluses and minuses of the particular technology. Only you will be able to draft those regulations in the right framework. So this is very important, I think, for all of us. Now, any technology, I think, coming in the country, we should have a clear direction, vision from the, top bosses, where we want to take the country. It may be artificial intelligence, it may be, IoT, it may be any other, telecom sector, IT sector, software. So if we have a clear vision, and we have a very clear roadmap, next 10 years, for example, 5 years, short-term, mid-term, long-term objectives. And then we follow that particular policy and framework. I think only we will be successful. If it is only individual choices, policies, that may not work. So I think we need to have a long-term strategy, what to do for Pakistan in different fields. That will be very important, I think. Similarly, to go for the artificial intelligence as well, I think Dr. Yasser, he mentioned that I think NUST being the leading institution for the artificial intelligence. And we have so many startups, so many incubation centers in this field. We have very good skilled manpower, cheap manpower for the world. I think that we should harness, we should have an enabling environment in Pakistan so that the international community, we can, bring into Pakistan and to, utilize our resources and we can benefit and the world can benefit from us. It's very important. I think we should have that environment in Pakistan. And that may again be referred to the regulation and policies so that, we create a good environment for them to come and use our skilled manpower and, it can benefit Pakistan financially and artificial and also the international community as well. I think it's very important for all of us to look into that. Another, I think, area as I would like to mention is regarding the data protection. are the privacy, are the ethical use of these technologies. I believe I'm not that technical, but once I was DGCFRI and we started automating our system, we realized the more you are automated, the more you are vulnerable. And I think indigenous, we don't have those kind of indigenous technologies to protect the data. We are dependent on someone else. So we need to look into that aspect as well, how to ensure the data protection. Today we have data in silos. You go to the NADA, you go to FBR, you go to so many areas, we have rich data available. But I think people are not very confident to share those data. I believe one of the main reasons is the data protection, security. So how to ensure it? Do we have that category of data center in Pakistan, national data center? They can put their data, they are assured that data is protected, and that the same data can be utilized, for the future artificial intelligence to get benefit out of that. So I think we need to look into this aspect as well, how to ensure it, the data protection. The second is, I would use the word maybe to transgress into somebody's privacy, personal data. That is also very important to look into this aspect, how to ensure, to give that confidence to the people that your data is protected, your personal data is protected, that's not been breaches by, these kind of technologies. I was just wondering, that a few years back, I was reading an article, American article. They started manufacturing the Morse code machines from Germany, 50,000 machines. So I was wondering, the most advanced country in the world is going back to square, 0 point. What is happening? Are we leading to an area where you may go to the basics of the life? So, why? Because the people are concerned about the security. So they manufacture the Morse code machine for their, defense forces. So it's very interesting to see. So I have just one example before I conclude, just to say to Dr. Yasser sir, I'm lucky to be, I was, on the faculty of the NUST in 1993. So I can claim that too, I'm part of the NUST. Once I was DGCFRI, so we took a project, one of my colleagues is sitting here. We said, let's take a project, very simple project. Then when one of our neighbor going to, violate the ceasefire rule. And we got the data of 3 years, and we were able to predict people sitting, 2 of them are sitting here, not very learned people, that when is going to, violate the ceasefire and which area. So the technology use has to be on the positive side. Look to the positive side. I think you have so many hundred of usage of the technologies. If you know the negativity of any technology, any negative, I think that can be addressed. The only thing is we need to know what are the challenges. If you clearly identify the challenges, those can be addressed, no doubt in it. But you have to embrace the technology. We can't get rid of it. It's an area. I think in the last 40 years, the technology has advanced so much that it's difficult to keep pace with it until you read it on a daily basis. So just to conclude, I think as a PTA, what are we doing today is trying to bring in the new technologies, trying to bring 5G into the country, hopefully soon. We have so many, irritants, small irritants, I would say, like right-of-way issues, like the, let's say the regulation frameworks. We want to go and revise those regulations. Maybe we have the different policies working with the government, trying to ease out, the telecom sector, to give that, confidence to them that we are working with them, we are supporting them, we are helping them. So just to conclude, I would say the हमारा जो कौमी तराना है, it has 3 words, Qawm Mulk Sultanat. So just think about it, what it says. The protection is the right of the Sultanate, how to protect the rights of the people and the right of the country. So once we talk of the regulation, probably the world is working on forced discipline, not self-discipline. If we leave to the people to drive their car on the roads, everybody will cross on red light. So that's why there is a regulations, rules. So every country has its own, laws and regulation. So the Qawm Mulk Sultanat, the word itself define the parameter for us how to work within Pakistan. So once again, thank you so much, all of you, and the panelists, very kind of you. Sorry, once again, I'm not an expert on artificial intelligence, but whatever I knew, I just share with you. Very kind of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Zulfa, for sharing your thoughts on the ethical side, the data protection issues, that the data is available, but in silos in Pakistan, and the personal data, privacy, all these issues are extremely important, of course, especially for the future. Your example of predicting ceasefire violations using AI was something absolutely new and I must say very innovative. Excellent job. Thank you once again, sir. Before I invite Dr. Abid Suleri for his closing remarks, we take a few questions. Ji, pehle aap, sir.
Thank you very much. Firstly, I like to join in thanking Giri Yasin and SDPI for holding this important session. And also the panelists, really it is very, very illuminating and educating. And I'm glad that we have presence of AI institution in the country to start with. Now, my question or comment is that why and in what way can we involve public and public bodies in dealing with such challenges and opportunities like which AI offers? Now, before coming here, I was browsing the net and I found that the British Parliament, they have set up a council on AI. They have prepared a strategy for AI, defining way forward and the risk which involved. Similarly, the presentation of which we heard now, it was mentioned that the Brazilian Parliament has, passed something. That is a sort of public participation which I think needs to be looked into for us in the science and technology sector. Because, there is a lot of progress in Pakistan, but I think there's much more scope to contribute and make benefit of science and technology in general, IT in particular, and especially the AI, which is, as we are told, there are opportunities and there are challenges. I read some report that 37% scientists of the world in a forum, they said that AI has a serious challenges also which will be faced by public. And similarly, why are we participating in the international fora? There was AI World Conference this year. There is going to be a World Summit on AI. And if so, what is the forum which is using it? But at the end of my comment, I would say, personally, I think there's a lot of scope and benefit in consulting public institutions, supra policy making level like legislator. They have, science and technology committees, and they should be also doing this work and looking at it. Similarly, in the industrial association, how to motivate them and how to, sensitize them that this is the, like Dr. Nasrullah said, I think the biggest gain can come out of the productivity improvement in Pakistan if we can harness this technology. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you for your comment. It's Mia Javis, sir.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to ask a question. So, AI का जो field है, AI is quite a complicated, quite a complex field, and similarly cybersecurity या भी IoT का जिक्र किया. और इस field को समझने के लिए you need to have quite a lot of prerequisites. ऐसे नहीं जैसे कि आप इंटर या मैट्रिक के बच्चे को लेंगे and that would be able to understand and program it. सो मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि गवर्नमेंट ने इस तरह के इनिशिएटिव लिए, जिस तरह कामयाब जवान प्रोग्राम था, जिसके अंदर प्री रिक्विजिट मैट्रिक था। मैं एक यूनिवर्सिटी से मेरा ताल्लुक है और वी होस्टेड दैट प्रोग्राम, और मैं ये देख रहा था कि एक बच्चा जो इंटर करके आ रहा है या मैट्रिक करके आ रहा है, वो किस तरह से एआई की ट्रेनिंग 2 महीने में ले सकता है, कैसे यूजफुल होगा। मेरे नज़दीक वो पैसे जो गवर्नमेंट ने लगाए वो उससे कहीं ज़्यादा वैल्यू ऑफ मनी अटेन कर सकते थे अगर वो, जिस तरह अभी आप बात कर रहे थे, प्रोफेशनल्स को किए। सो मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है कि पॉलिसी जब इस तरह के प्रोग्राम्स के लिए बनाई जाती है तो ये चीज़ जहन में डेफिनेटली डिस्कशन में होगी। इसके बारे में प्लीज़ आप कमेंट करें, स्पेशली इस तरह के जो ट्रेनिंग्स के इनिशिएटिव्स हैं और प्री रिक्विजिट्स।
श्योर, बिल्कुल। एक्चुअली लाइक हमारे पास भी, क्योंकि नैपटेक के प्रोग्राम के कुछ हमने 2 बैचेस आई थिंक रन किए थे, एआई भी उसमें था और आईओटी वगैरह दूसरी टेक्नोलॉजीज भी थी। यकीनन यू राइट कि लाइक सम ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स जिनका बैकग्राउंड अभी बहुत बेसिक था वो उतना ग्रास्प नहीं कर पाते, लेकिन नंबर ऑफ अदर स्टूडेंट्स जो कि लेट्स से अपनी ग्रेजुएशन के बाद अटेंड कर रहे थे या उनको कुछ प्रोग्रामिंग का बैकग्राउंड था, उनको बड़ा सिग्निफिकेंटली से फायदा हुआ होगा। तो आई वुडंट से इट्स अ टोटल वेस्ट, मतलब जाहिर है कि देयर आर नंबर ऑफ इंडिविजुअल्स हु बेनिफिटेड फ्रॉम इट एज वेल। तो आप अगर टोटल लेट्स से कई थाउजेंड्स या मिलियन स्टूडेंट्स को अप्रोच करते हैं तो उसमें लेट्स से अगर 60% भी बेनिफिट हो जाए तो चले, वर्कफोर्स में कुछ तो ऐड किया ना। बट आई डू एग्री विद यू कि इसमें हमें वी नीड टू ब्रिंग इन द राइट बॉडीज एट द टाइम ऑफ द पॉलिसी मेकिंग व्हेन वी आर टर्निंग आउट दैट मनी। तो अगर वो हमें उसमें शुरू से हम इन्वॉल्व होते हैं एनसीआई, तो हम ट्रेनिंग के मटेरियल्स को, उसके हमने एक्चुअली नैपटेक को जब शुरू में हमारे साथ होता, वी ऑफर्ड देम कि इसकी कोर्स आउटलाइन को कुछ मजीद इंप्रूव कर लें, इसकी एंट्री क्राइटेरिया को कुछ मजीद इंप्रूव कर लें। बट एट दैट टाइम वो एक आउटलाइन बन चुकी थी, तो वी कुडंट रिफाइन इट, यू अंडरस्टैंड कि उसमें जैसे होता। तो लेकिन आई इन प्रिंसिपल आई एग्री विद यू कि अगर इसमें शुरू से जो बॉडीज इसमें काम कर रही है उसको इन्वॉल्व करें तो वो ज्यादा बेहतर तरीके से उनको गाइड भी कर सकते हैं, और जो सबसे बड़ी बात है उनको प्रैक्टिकल चैलेंज के लिए रेडी कर सकते हैं। देखिए, द रियल प्रॉब्लम इज इन के रॉ डेटा जब बंदे ने हैंडल करना होता है तो केगल से डेटा सेट उठा के तो कोई भी बंदा काम कर लेगा, बट रॉ डेटा को हैंडल करना, उसको डेटा सेट की फॉर्म में लेके आना, फिर उसको डिप्लॉय करना और उसमें एमएल ऑप्स करना, दैट्स वेयर द कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी कम्स इन। तो अगर इस तरह के कंटेंट्स में हम लेट्स से इन्वॉल्व होते हैं, अभी भी नथिंग इज लॉस्ट, लाइक द प्रोग्राम आई थिंक a lot of other programs are also there, this one is ongoing, so we offer our services। अगर इसमें हम कोई हेल्प कर सकते हैं in collaboration with the other leading universities in Pakistan, we are also a collection of the universities, so we can work together to improve this।
नहीं, next question actually
इसमें सर एक
जी
इसमें सर बस 2 कमेंट्स। एक तो एनआईसी बनी, नेशनल इंक्यूबेशन सेंटर, अराउंड 20 नंबर, उसमें भी काम शुरू हुआ। सेकंड, मे बी होपफुली इन 2 weeks time you will have a new, I think, policy on e-Rozgar scheme where we are establishing with the help of Ignite and the government around 600 startups, hopefully be funded by the Ignite and the government, where there is a minimum essential qualifications being defined. So today we are meeting with the Minister of IT on this subject. So hopefully they will further streamline to ensure that those people who are qualified should be trained in those areas, and then they can have their own startups. Thank you.
एक छोटा एडिशन सर इसमें, मैं वैसा आपकी इजाजत से इनके देखें, वो मेडिसिन भी वही है जो प्रॉब्लम है। इशू ये है कि प्रोग्राम्स आई कैन आर्गुमेंट्स के साथ आप जितनी मर्जी जोर लगा, बट इफ द प्रोग्राम दैट यू हैव रन इट हैज क्रिएटेड सम डाटा, you have to create that data in order to support that argument, 20% benefited or 25% benefit. So data mesmerizes people more than anything else. If you want to go to policy makers, you have to be able to substantiate with evidence कि ये उसका फायदा हुआ और ये हमारी contribution है, this is what we are tracking people and this is what they have done. So that otherwise it's simple, a newspaper article where you are making an argument कि ऐसा होना चाहिए था, ये भी होना चाहिए, but you need to have that. So I think everybody needs to understand.
Sorry, we are getting short of time. One last question. That was next was that lady.
मेरा डॉक्टर मेरा
अच्छा, आपको सवाल रह गया? Oh, sorry.
Wait, I'm Dr. Faisal Janjua from Ministry of Defense. My major work is in applied AI, and in recent past we have been involved in preparing and drafting national AI policy and all that stuff. Right? So as somebody said that Putin किसी ने रेफर किया कि whoever harnesses the AI would rule the world. ये तो फैक्ट है, एक डिस्ट्रप्टिव टेक्नोलॉजी एग्जिस्ट करती है. सो फॉर्चुनेटली और अनफॉर्चुनेटली हम लोग वी आर फॉलोइंग अ बीटन ट्रैक, राइट. सो दुनिया इससे बहुत आगे जा चुकी है और एआई में इज अ ह्यूज पोटेंशियल, इज एनेबलिंग टेक्नोलॉजी और बहुत सारी फील्ड्स में काम करती है. वी ऑल नो. और बहुत सारे फोरम्स में आई ऑलवेज गिव अ टॉक. यासिर के साथ, डॉक्टर यासिर के साथ हमने बहुत काम किया है, कोलैबोरेशन की. बट व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज द मिसिंग पिन? हमें एक स्ट्रक्चर्ड प्लेटफॉर्म चाहिए जिसपे हम कहते हैं कि हमने नेशनल एआई पॉलिसी बना ली, राइट. मुझे सबने रेफर किया था कि नेशनल टास्क फोर्स बननी चाहिए. दैट नेशनल टास्क फोर्स फॉर एआई इज ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्टिंग, बन चुकी है, एंड आई एम मेंबर ऑफ दैट. नो, देयर आर 17 मेंबर्स फ्रॉम पाकिस्तान. So we have started working on it, but unfortunately what happens is there's a change of government, things go down. So we need to have a national AI roadmap जो कि दुनिया बनाती है. 10 years roadmap होना चाहिए. उसमें we must know कि what are the do's and don'ts, what are the enabling factors, what are the irritants, what are the opportunities, and what are the risks. And with short milestones, right, long, medium, and short-term milestones, we create that roadmap. और कोई भी department, for example, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ डिफेंस या कोई भी उसको लीड कर सकता है, बट एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव कॉम्पोजिट टीम हो जिसमें इंडस्ट्री, एकेडेमिया एंड गवर्नमेंट शामिल हो, सो दैट के वी शुड हैव द अल्टीमेट एम, जहां पहुंचना कहां पे है और कैसे पहुंचना है. दैट रोड मैप इज टू बी क्रिएटेड, ड्राफ्ट एंड फॉलोड बाय वन कॉम्पोनेंट एजेंसी, ताकि गवर्नमेंट की चेंजेस के साथ या अनसर्टेनिटीज ना हो. दिस इज द फाइनल रिकमेंडेशन. वी शुड बी, यू नो, there should be some takeaway of our discussion, और ये इसमें recommendation होने चाहिए, I would suggest.
जी, thank you very much for your recommendation. ये definitely add होगा. The lady over there was the next, and I think this should be the last question. I'm sorry.
Okay, very good morning. I'm Stephanie True from UNSCAP. I have a question that's actually directed at Dr. Yasa as well as Mr. Wakas, and it's relevant to peer learning in South Asia. So I wanted to ask, what are some Pakistani initiatives on AI and on frontier technologies that could be shared with other South Asian countries, and vice versa? Are there any, you know, unicorn technologies from South Asia that could be shared and adopted by Pakistan? Thank you.
Starting with some of the technologies that we've made, so I showcased a couple of them, which is like, one is the, you know, like a cost-effective, you could say, smart surveillance system for the cities. So this has been tried and tested in two prominent ways. One is a system called Lost and Found, which is running around the city all the time, round the clock, right? And what it does is that, for example, if you report a missing person, or if you want to spot another wanted person, for instance, you can actually locate them anywhere in the city. The other is to make the events more secure. You see, like, South Asia has been riddled with a lot of security problems, like, and this is useful for a lot of countries. The good thing is this is an in-house solution, and we have actual proven test cases where we've been able to pick out, you know, miscreants who have police record from major events, and like we have a proven technology now which has been running for some years. So this is one. Number two is, for example, a media analytics platform which we have. So this one, you know, looks at all the media channels simultaneously, and, you know, documents everything that is being said in English and in Urdu, for instance, but we can train it for other South Asian languages too. In terms of listening, recognizing words, it would work for Hindi as well, but it would write it down in Urdu language rather than in the Hindi script. But like this could be tailored to, you know, it could be enhanced for other technologies as well. There are several other areas, for example, you know, as we mentioned, that AI education, you know, in UAE, there are like initiatives for women, for instance, for, you know, for online learning. In many other countries where it's difficult to have institutions of AI doing physical training, so we have AI-based training, systems with animated content and AI-based assessment methods for that. So when you want to do large-scale trainings like the President's Initiative or other initiatives like Government Punjab, we have helped them. The problem comes when there are 10,000 students in the class and they ask you a question and you want to satisfy every one of the students. So you need somehow AI to do some assessment work for you and also help you in answering questions. There are a number of other technologies also, like there are technologies in agriculture which we have. So with a lot of these technologies, I think that one good idea could be to form a network of people from South Asia who can come together, who can bring to the table their respective technologies that they have developed, and then have a joint approach of South Asia to actually make this technology global. And I was also implying the same thing in my presentation, that Europe has benefited a lot from, you know, banding together
together with the European Union. There are joint fundings, for instance, the Horizon Commission, etc. We are part of some of those fundings as well as a third country. So I think that if your UN body could help merge such, unions, for instance, which could help make technology together and take it to the market, that would be really of essence for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Waqas, do you have anything to add in 30 seconds, please?
I would certainly, I think, one, I'd apologize to the lady for delivering my speech in Urdu. I didn't know that we had a female guest for English, but I would just love to say that there's a plethora of content that is available. Google and the industry beyond papers, there's certifications, there's a plethora of content that's already available. We just need to do the hard work of getting into it. The models that I shared today, specifically about Google, AI.Google, research.Google, they're all available online. Most of them happen to be open source. We just need to pick them up, not be myopic, not be in our own world. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Be open-minded, be receptive, and put in the hard work. And we have a lot of technology that could benefit us.
Thank you very much. Sorry to keep you waiting, Dr. Saab. Please, the floor is yours for your closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me confess that I feel extremely dwarfed sitting among all the technology giants. Let me begin by thanking Brigadier Yassin Saab for very ably steering and guiding us over last more than 2 decades, this discussion on technology. And as Chairman PTA rightly said, that even the whole decision of privatizing telcos in Pakistan, the credit goes to the recommendation that were put forwarded by Brigadier Yassin at that time. And since then, we have been working on it. And even this year, when I approached him and requested to organize this panel, he was gracious enough that he said that he will do it. And of course, my thanks to all the honorable guests. See, we seem, and when I say we, in the developing country, we seem to be confused over potential of artificial intelligence, whether we should be with the doomers or we should be with the boomers. But then when I zoom out, it's not only us. Even the founders of AI and the last week's event when Mr. Sam Altman was sacked by the board, the founder of OpenAI, this debate is very much there, and this confusion is very much prevailing among the founders of AI as well. And if you go back, the basic concept, whether you would be relying on a non-profit organization for artificial intelligence, or you would be relying on a corporation that is controlled by 1 or 2 investors. So that is basically the question here. So we have this effective altruism model that may take AI forward, and we have this effective accelerationism model that promotes to work with AI and make the most of it. So protecting human values vis-a-vis making the best of its advantages. And now when we look at regulations, my argument would be that despite all these regulations and despite all these controls, some of the work it would carry on. And again, I refer back to this Sam Altman, although he was pro-humanity in all this discussion, but then he was also one of the strong advocate that the work should continue. So we shouldn't stop because of the fear of unknown. Yes, we may have our safeguards, but we shouldn't be a reluctant force in it. Now, some of the recent initiatives taken by British government, taken by American administration, although they are there, but again, if you look at the base of them, they talk of voluntary compliance. none of them has made any binding commitment yet. So all the commitments for reporting about safety and safeguards, those are non-binding, except last week's development in America, where they are calling it AI for dual purposes. So the artificial intelligence that can be used for civil as well as for military technology. So there is a new regulation in America, whereby they have asked AI companies that are building model beyond a certain size, and the size is defined by the computing power. They need to report that the model has been tested for safety. So that is the only regulation we have so far. So we are passing through interesting times, and day before yesterday, while in the inaugural of this conference, I mentioned looking at ray of hope in time of despair. So hope in time of despair. And I mentioned 4 factors. The tunnel comprises of economic doom and gloom scenario, the conflicts around us where 2 nuclear power are active parties, Russia and Israel, climate change and AI. And then if you flip the side, that's where ray of hope is. Countries, they bounce back from their economic meltdown, and we have seen it happening among various developing countries. They went to the rock bottom and then they bounced back. The conflict and the positive side of this conflict is that Palestine, which had gone under carpet, is once again the plight of Palestine is back in headline and news, and even the northern civil society, the way they are showing solidarity in the Western capitals, I think that to me is a sign of hope. Climate change, all of us now we are united, and we're talking of climate change. Next week, COP28 would be an important milestone. And AI, the way the discussion and debate is going on, not only among the policymakers, but also in the boardrooms of Meta and Google and this Microsoft and OpenAI, I think that would again leave some ray of hopes, like countries like us who are backbenchers and who are looking at the developments. So the worst part of the story is that we are backbencher, but the best part of the story is that we are not the guinea pigs. And by the time we will adopt certain policies or recommendation, much work would have already been done. And I think that's for me is ray of hope, that we have all the skill sets and all the brains, competent minds and institutions in this country. And with whatever is happening in the world about AI, perhaps we'll be able to get some light out of it, and we will be able to make the best use of it. Thank you very much for being here and for joining us.
Just one line before Brigadier Saab, you formally close. Just one line in answer to this question, that I've been told that ADB and SDPI are working on a roadmap till 2035 on digital/ICT. It will be out by second quarter of 2025.
I would like to put on record the hard work that has been done by Ms. Sadia, sitting right here. Organizing such a panel requires hard work, I am sure, a lot of effort. I'm sure we all agree to that. The panelists will bear me out that how much, contacts she has been trying to make with them. I am sure Dr. Yasser, at least I think 20 telephone calls she has been making to Dr. Yasser to involve him in this panel. So I am really thankful to him, and she is the organizer and she has been doing all the work. Thank you very much.